We finally get a winning day. We needed it bad. A 3-1 day yesterday. We'll take it. Can we run it back again today? 3 college basketball bets on the way on this video. This is the free 3. Let's get into it.
I love it, Noble. Noble, I also love your YouTube videos. I watched them while I was gone. That was fire.
But getting paid because yesterday we had a full sweep. Mike going under, that was just icing on the cake. Why are we going to go in such a weak AFC South? Unless we have the NBA Blowout Association.
Bang! Knicks take a 1-point lead with 13.
When you hear the sirens, you know what that means.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
What is up, everyone? It is your boy Noble Living back with another DYF Bets video where I'm breaking down my favorite picks and plays of the day as we try to get to the bag together and make that money. Yesterday, we didn't have a sweep, so I can't hit the horn, but we will take a 3-in-1 day. We needed it like air. It's been a rough start to the month of February for us, and hopefully this is the sign of good things. And truthfully, there's no other better time to get hot. Why? Because we've got NBA back from the All-Star break. We've got conference tournament time coming up in college basketball. Not to mention March Madness right around the corner. We're going to start locking in a few futures here as well for the college basketball slate. So make sure you guys are tuned in every single day to the channel because we're here every single weekday dropping new plays, new videos for you guys. Smash that smash that subscribe button for me, sorry about that, and also hit that like button as well. All right, appreciate all the love and support that you guys continue to show. And let's dive into yesterday's recap real fast, how we did. So you can see here on the Action Network where we track all our plays. Yesterday we went 3-1. For some reason the desktop app on Action is not allowing me to like show the latest picks and stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I took a screenshot here and we're just gonna go through the screenshot of how we did yesterday. 3-in-1 day. We cashed in on BYU on the money line. We added that play late. Shout out to my boy Shark Lark. When he's on it, and he's a sharp guy, I have to tail. I was on the fence about it because you guys know I've been on Kansas a lot this season, but seeing him on it and then also knowing how bad Kansas has been on the road, no sweat bet there. We cashed in on BYU on the money line. We also got the under between Purdue and Michigan State, right? We got under 148.5. We get that done. Mississippi State on the money line against Texas A&M. No sweat bet there as well. Texas A&M could not hit a shot as I figured was going to be happening, and I told you we're going to go with the better offense in that one. And finally, our 3-team steam of the day. Man, oh man, I told you guys we were taking a break from moneyline parlays, and this is exactly why. Because we got UConn right, we got Pitt right, and then Texas Tech, they were laying 8.5 points. And they lose the game outright by 3 points to TCU on the road. A very tough loss. Only one pick away from a full sweep on the board. But you know what? You can't win them all. It's not Pokemon. So guess what? We're going to kind of rebound today. Let's see what we can do. I'll take a 3-in-1 day anytime. Anytime you get a 75% win rate, a 36% return on your investment, I will take that every single time. So in today's video, we're going to run it back today. 3 best bets are on the way for you guys in today's video. Keeping it real simple, no money line parlay for you because those have been losing. I might add one a little bit later on, later down the line throughout the day. We also do have some NBA back, so I'm going to wait to see how player props are moving between the Hornets and Lakers. But my goal is to really start diving to NBA way more like tomorrow and Friday once we kind of get back from All-Star break and get back into the swing of things, all right? So I'm done yapping for today. I'm done yapping for today. Let's go look at this board real quick and let's see what we're cooking up on this college slate. Alrighty, here we are on the college slate. We have a few good games on the board today. We do have some early start times as well. Keep in mind that this is a 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'm currently on the road, so I'm in Central time zone right now. So all these time zones that you'll see or times are for Central time. But we got a 2 p.m. start Central time, 6 p.m. start Eastern time, a few other 6 p.m. starts. We have a good game between Nebraska and Penn State today. That should be interesting. A Vanderbilt and Kentucky game. Remember, Kentucky lost to Vanderbilt on the road earlier this season when these two teams faced off. So now we should see Vanderbilt on the road. Kentucky looking to get revenge. They're dealing with a ton of injuries on their side. A lot of good games. But the first game that I'm going to take a look at real quickly is a 7 p.m. start for you guys on the Eastern Seaboard. And we're going to go with the SMU Notre Dame matchup. We can see SMU on the year 19-6. Meanwhile, Notre Dame's 11-14. SMU's 10-4 in ACC play. Meanwhile, Notre Dame is 5-9. Has there been a bigger program that's taken like a leap up besides SMU? We saw what they did in football this year. Look at them in basketball. I mean, talk about NIL. When you go to a rich private school and you got all the billionaires and a centimillionaire money coming in, I guess you can get you some good players, because SMU being known as a football school or a basketball school is not something that's pretty typical common, but Andy Enfield has really turned this program around. Keep in mind, he was the head coach at USC. They went to the Elite Eight several years ago, so he's a very experienced head coach, and now he has this SMU team that's full of transfers playing some really good basketball. And I think that we're getting some really good odds value with them, because if we go to the odds screen here on Action Network, now let's go look at the NCAA basketball spread real quick. And we could go see what SMU is currently laying against Notre Dame. I just went through the records, but you could see here it's basically a pick-em. -1.5 points on the spread. It opened at 2.5, and the line has already moved in favor of Notre Dame, which I'm going to have to disagree with. So for me today, we're going to lock in SMU on the money line to win 1 unit. Now, SMU is a team that if you're looking at them just on the numbers, you just might be like, hold on, Noble. I mean, they're 19-6. 45th on KenPom, but who have they really played? Isn't some regression due? Yes. But the thing is, they're 10-4 in conference. Now, keep in mind, this is a very, very weak conference, very similar to what they did in football. And from the standpoint of every time they played the better teams, they lost. Louisville, lost. Wake Forest, lost. North Carolina, lost. Duke, lost. But the thing about Notre Dame is they're not really that good of a team either. So when they're playing the top programs, that is SMU, I will fade them. But when they're playing some of the worst schools like Notre Dame, like Virginia Tech, like Cal, like NC State, they figure out a way to win those games. And if you can see real quickly here, they're on the road against Notre Dame in this matchup before they travel back home on Saturday against Clemson, which is going to be a very, very tough game for them. Truthfully, their first, real, true test against one of the top teams in the conference besides Louisville right here in the middle of January, and then Duke, which they played very earlier on in conference scheduling. So when you look at the back half of their schedule, SMU can really lose to Clemson and still win out and kind of make some noise come ACC tournament time. But this is a classic spot where they cannot look ahead. If they beat Wake Forest at home, I fade SMU in this game. I think they lose. But the fact that they lose to Wake Forest here, then they get to play Notre Dame before they travel back at home, it does scream look ahead spot. But I do think that they're a good enough team. I do think they're well coached enough to be able to grab the win here. Now also, this is a fade against Notre Dame as well. If we look at Notre Dame's numbers so far, we looked at them record-wise, 11-14, but we can see what they've been doing recently in conference. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. Really could have lost 5 in a row because they won this game against Boston College in double overtime. And they haven't been winning against the good teams. Virginia Tech, lost. Florida State, lost. Miami, Florida, lost. Syracuse, lost. NC State, lost. Yes, the losses against Louisville, that's understandable. Louisville has proven themselves to be one of the best teams in the ACC this season. But when you're losing to teams like Virginia Tech, a team that scored 36 points last night, in 40 minutes of basketball, they scored 36 points against Boston College. They're not a good team. Notre Dame's not a good team. And if we dive in a little bit further here, that's one of the reasons why I love Action Network. You can see how they've done in the last 5 matchups. They've lost 4 of their last 5, but they haven't even covered the spread in 5 straight games. They're one of the worst teams this season against the number. Even they started off strong, but you can see they're 11-13 now. 5 of 6 on the road, 6 of 7 against the number at home, 5-9 as a favorite. There's really not much to say that gives you confidence in taking them here. So this is a game where it's kind of like a toss-up. SMU's 0-3 against the number as a dog this season as well. And you're trying to say which team is going to get it done. I'm going to say it's going to come down to the team with the better offense, the better coaching. And you can see Notre Dame, they're 76 in offensive efficiency. They shoot the 3 ball really well at 56%. They play very slow at 321st, but this defense is concerning. 144th in defensive efficiency, 301 in turnover percentage on the defensive side, so they don't turn over the ball a lot or turn you over a lot, and 200 in effective field goal percentage on the defensive side, and they can't guard the interior either, 288 in 2-point percentage on the inside. Well, look at Andy Enfield's team. Let's see what they do. 32nd in offensive efficiency. Really good. They play fast, 89th in tempo, so more offensive possessions. They hit a high rate of threes, 18th in three-point, but also 105 in two-pointers. But look at this number right here, 12th in offensive rebounding percentage. So they also tap the glass hard, which I think is going to cause a problem for a Notre Dame team that at times this season has not necessarily shown signs of playing hard. I'm locking in SMU on the road to win one unit as our first best bet of the day. Second pick of the day, as we continue to go through the card here, we do again have some great matchups that you guys can take a look at. Nebraska and Penn, Providence, Georgetown. I already talked about Vanderbilt, Kentucky a little bit. We just talked about SMU, Notre Dame. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and I'm going to go to a program in a school that you guys have heard me talk about several times here on the channel, and that is UNCG against Eastern Tennessee State. We can see UNCG Spartans are 18-9 on the season. Meanwhile, ETSU Buccaneers are 15-12. So they're hovering around the same, kind of record-wise, not too huge of a difference. But when you look at the numbers a little bit deeper, especially when you look at a very competitive Socon conference, we can look at the standings real fast, and we can see that UNCG, they're tied for first in the conference with Chattanooga. Chattanooga is one of the top teams in the conference right now, and truthfully the country. They've won like 10 games in a row. Shout out to the alma mater for getting it done. And Sanford, we've seen them real lately. They lost to Chattanooga at home. They had to come back from behind in their last matchup. So right now they're in the 3 seed in the Socon. This was the team that was expected to win the conference tournament to start the season. So Sanford right now is the number 3. And you can see UNCG and Chattanooga are 11-3, tied for first. Well, if we go real quickly here, we can see that Chattanooga is playing tonight against Western Carolina at home. Chattanooga should win this game because Western Carolina is 4-10 in conference. They suck. And Chattanooga's at home. They're 17-point favorites at home. So they should win this game pretty easily. So with that in mind, if I'm UNCG and I'm looking at the scheduling spot here, knowing that Chattanooga is going to pick up a win and be 12-3 in conference, well, look at UNC's remaining schedule. They've got ETSU, they've got Mercer, they've got Chattanooga, they've got Sanford, okay? Before I break that down, let's just look at that. Now let's look at Chattanooga's remaining schedule real quick. 4 remaining games. Western Carolina, the Citadel, UNCG, VMI, okay? Remember those teams, okay? And then if we look at Sanford real quickly to end off the regular season, we've got Furman, West Carolina, VMI, UNCG. So a lot of very similar opponents, okay? So now let's go to the Socon Conference standings real fast so you guys can kind of see what this looks like in live time. I guess I could have done it in KenPom, but I'll just pull it up here. Here's the Socon standings. We can see it right here. Chattanooga 11-3. UNCG 11-3, Sanford 10-4, and then the other teams: Citadel, Western Kentucky, VMI, Mercer. So when you look at the scheduling spot for UNCG, as we go back to KenPom real quickly here and we look at them, right? UNCG real fast. 4 remaining games. 2 of the remaining games is against Chattanooga and Sanford, the 2 top teams in conference, okay? Chattanooga has 4 remaining games. 3 of their last 4 games, besides the game against UNCG, is against Western Carolina, the Citadel, and VMI. Again, let's go to the conference. Citadel, VMI, and Western Carolina. All bottom 4 teams. Same thing with Sanford. So what is my point? UNCG has to win these games that they can win now before they face Chattanooga, before they face Sanford, because those 2 teams should basically win out, and now the games that you face each other should decide the seeding for the conference. That is the key to playing the best teams in conference down the stretch or the last few games. In a conference like the Socon, they typically tend to do that because they know that this is a very top-heavy league or a barbell type of league. So you really have like 3-4 schools that are competing every single season, that being Chattanooga, UNCG, Sanford, sometimes ETSU, or sometimes Furman. Those are like the top 4 teams in the Socon, and then everybody else is kind of just like off to the wayside, off to the garbage. So basically, UNCG, when you look at the scheduling spot for them, they need to win this game against ETSU here, because basically if they don't, they can suffer going from the 2 seed all the way down to the 4 seed. And looking at the form that UNCG has been in, 11-3, they've won 4 straight games, they've won 6 of their last 7 games. I like the form that they're in. And even though KenPom has this as a 2-point loss for them on the road, I like them today. And I'm going to lock in UNCG here on the money line for our second best bet. And we're going to get them at plus 105. So we're literally going to put down a unit to win a little bit over 1 unit. Now, again, this is just more of a situational spot for me. And I'm going with the team that is better, and that is UNCG. You can see they're 161st in offensive efficiency, 119th in defensive efficiency, but they're 36th in defensive effective field goal percentage and 33rd in three-point percentage on the defensive side. So they're very good at taking away three-point shots, and they're limiting you to one shot and making you play some defense. And they also don't turn over the ball a ton on the offensive side as well, and they hit the three-point shot at a high clip as well. That's really the thing that their team is predicated on, is that they hit threes or if they don't hit threes. Meanwhile, ETSU, they don't shoot the three that well, only 163 in three-point percentage, so that's middle of the pack, and they don't defend the three-point line real well, 195th in three-point percentage on the defensive side. So when you look at both of those numbers, and then also the fact that ETSU is 234th in effective field goal percentage on the offensive side, they're not that strong offensively. So I'm going to go with the team that has more to play for right now, that has the better scorers and the better shooters, and then also situationally, their back is kind of against the wall, because when you look at the scheduling spot, you know if you lose this game, you're basically a 4 seed at that point, or maybe even a 3 seed, and that's tough when you're in the Socon. That is the difference between facing Chattanooga or facing Sanford, and you really want to get the best seeding possible, especially in a conference like this. So for me, I'm not overthinking it. You can see ETSU, they dropped back-to-back games against Chattanooga and Western Carolina. Granted, both of those games were on the road. Now they're back home. But again, for me, I just don't like the spot for ETSU. And seeing that they are vulnerable, they're susceptible, they can lose games. I like UNCG here. And UNCG beat them last time at home only by 5 points. So I get it while this is kind of like, hey, revenge spot for ETSU, but I'm not taking it. UNCG on the money line. Let's lock that in as our second best bet of the day. 2 picks down, 1 final pick to go for you guys here. And we are going to go to the Johnnies of St. John, right? And that is a team that everybody's been watching this season. Rick Pitino's got them fired up there in New York. We love to see it. I don't know if you guys saw the clip that's been going viral on Twitter this week of St. John's ripping into his players about overcoming adversity. Pitino ripping into his players about overcoming adversity and having to play hard against Providence when they were down at halftime and they came back. I love it. That gets me fired up. And that's what we're missing a lot of times in the modern day sports, is these coaches being mentors to these young boys. And Rick Pitino has done a great job with the St. John's team this year. 22-4. We don't need to talk about all the numbers, all the records. They're huge favorites today at 12.5 points on the road. Should they win this game? Yes. Should they cover the spread? Yes. But in Big East play, anything can happen. But one thing that I do know that is going to be consistent with St. John's is their defense. Rick Pitino, he doesn't care if you're UConn. He doesn't care if you're the last team in the conference. He wants you to play tough defense. And there's a reason why this team is number 2 in defensive efficiency, number 25th in effective field goal percentage on the defensive side, and 16th in turnover percentage on the defensive side. They can switch every single position 1 through 5. They play tough defense. Help side is always there. They always rotate. They play tough. So what is the bet that I'm going to be taking at here? It's a line that looked a little bit weird to me. And if I scroll down here, I'll show you. And the line's already moved. And I was going to take DePaul team total under 65.5 minus, it was minus 110, but you can see the line's already moved to 64.5 at minus 105. So we'll go 65.5. I'll move this up to minus 120, and then we'll take this down for 120. You could probably shop around. You can see FanDuel still has 65.5 at 120. So I would take that if I were you. Get the 65.5. DePaul's team total under 65.5. Let's look at some of the recent opponents that St. John's has played. One, they played Creighton at home. Creighton scored 73 points, but Creighton is one of the top, offenses in the Big East. They ain't no DePaul. You can see KenPom has only DePaul scoring 64 points in this game, which is sounds about right. St. John's gave up 73 to Villanova, 62 to UConn, 64 to Marquette, 66 to Providence, 41 to Georgetown. And the reason why I'm showing this is even though St. John's hasn't necessarily hit this number by saying opponents have gone under this number in 3 of the last 4 or 4 of the last 5 like I usually tend to do, Marquette, way better offense than DePaul, and they only scored 64 points. Connecticut, way better offense than DePaul, and they scored 62 points. Creighton, way better offense than DePaul, and they scored 73 points. So for me, we just need 1 or 2 extra possessions and stops, and we cash in this bet right here. And I think that St. John's can be able to do it. If we go to team rankings real quickly and we look at the top defenses in terms of giving up the least points per game, you can see St. John's is right here in 26th in the country. They're giving about 66 points per game, and on their road, they're only giving about 65 points per game. You love to see that. If we scroll down to DePaul real fast over here and we look at what DePaul has been doing recently, they only scored 68 points against Xavier on the road. They only scored 58 points to Marquette on the road. At home against Villanova, they only scored 49 points. At home against Seton Hall, they scored 74 points, but Seton Hall is not that good of a defense. UConn, they only scored 61 points on the road. So you see my point. DePaul is not really scoring a whole lot of points themselves, and now you got to face the top, if not one of the top defenses in the entire country. You can see real quickly here, they've gone under in 4 of their last 5 games as well, DePaul has. So for me, I'm not overthinking it. You can look at the injury list for DePaul. Everybody and their mama is hurt on that team. I'm not overthinking it. DePaul team total under 65.5. We're locking that in as our third and final pick of the day. All right? Well, that is it for me today, my friends. I'm sorry that my internet is moving a little bit slow today, so it's kind of like delaying like me being able to pull up things on the screen. But 3 best bets that we're locking in, no money line parlays. DePaul's team total under 65.5. Lock that in to win 1 unit for minus 120. Our second best bet is UNCG on the money line at plus 105. And then we're going to take SMU on the money line against Notre Dame to win 1 unit. That's what we're locking in on this Wednesday card on this February 19th. As always, let's get to that cheddar. Dictate your fate. Let me know in the comments below what you're taking. And if we sweep the board, I'm going to send somebody some money. I haven't been able to send anybody any money this month. Why? Because we haven't swept the board. Well, we are overdue for a sweep. We need it like air, and hopefully tomorrow can be the day that we're going to be celebrating it, all right? NBA is going to be back in full swing tomorrow as well, so make sure you guys are managing your bankrolls accordingly, and if you want to see some of the extra plays that I might add throughout the day, maybe 1 to 2 extra, I'll add that there on Action at Noble Living, and then also on Twitter and X at Noble Living as well, all right? Follow me on all socials at Noble Living. It is your boy, man, here every single weekday dropping picks and plays. Let's get to that cheddar, dictate your fate, and I'll see y'all in tomorrow's video. Later, gang.